nations, as well as the development of a GIS application for compiling tree-related data and programming works. It is the combination of the successful implementation of the key principle agreed in the Tree Charter and of this internal organizational management decision that enable us to reduce tree maintenance operation while improving the result in terms of accident prevention. The first Tree Charter really allowed a thorough change of the Greater Lyon authorities' policy for on its street asset. However, it had three main limits. The first is that it was exclusively focused on the trees falling under the Greater Lyon authorities' jurisdiction and did not propose a strategy applicable to the whole tree population found across Greater Lyon, which represents a major challenge for preserving landscapes and enhancing urban living. The second is the fact that it committed only the Greater Lyon authority. Other local stakeholders were informed but not involved. Finally, the third limit concerns its insufficient consideration of recent issues in sustainable urban development. Indeed, elaborated in the 90s, it approached only superficially today's major topics such as alternative water management, the protection of the agronomic resource, adaptation to climate change, and biodiversity conservation. It is from these three weaknesses that the main strategic objective of the updated Tree Charter were derived. First of all, the Tree Charter update aimed to take a holistic approach to the role of trees in the urban landscape, whether found in public or private land, or in a natural or hard landscape setting. We wanted the new Tree Charter to be guided by a logic of territory rather than driven by ownership or land development issues. The Tree Charter update also aimed to stimulate better coherence and collaboration around trees amongst the municipalities and all other local stakeholders, both public and private, involved with landscape and urban design issues. That is to say, a cross-disciplinary approach. Finally, the Tree Charter update aimed better integrate sustainability issues through the promotion of innovation and experimentation as part of streetscape and other public space projects. That is to say, by integrating research and development to the development of the public realm. Three main research areas were prioritized: the preservation and enhancement of local fertile soil, because fertile land is not a renewable resource, the relationship between landscape and water cycle management, and finally, the link between urban nature and climate change. In respect to climate change, if the scenarios developed by the IPCC do provide an accurate representation of the reality we are to face in the future, then major impacts are to be expected on our daily lives and our environment. When tailored and applied to the Greater Lyon context, these models predict that by the end of the century, summer temperature in Lyon will be similar to those found today in the city of Algiers. The scale and speed of this change will therefore directly impact ecosystems and plant distribution. The maps here show the evolution of potential areas for major forest types. In red, for example, the area of the Mediterranean forest characterized by holm oak, which by the end of the century is expected to be found in 2/3 of southern France. So we started to consider the adaptation of species to climate change as part of our strategy of tree species diversification, and have developed links to a regional network of tree nurseries which have also signed the tree charter. But of course, climate change does not affect only trees. Urban residents are also particularly vulnerable, as it was demonstrated during the 2003 heat waves, which caused more than 15,000 deaths in France, mostly concentrated in large cities like Paris and Lyon. A study on the vulnerability of Lyon to climate change shows that the main risk is the sanitary effect of summer heat waves amplified by the urban heat island effect. So the urban heat island effect is caused by the accumulation of heat in the hard and often dark material used in build-up areas, such as for street surfacing, lead to an artificial increase in temperature, particularly at nighttime, of up to 10 Celsius degrees. Thanks to both measurements and modeling works, urban heat island dynamic is now well understood and mapped. If well managed, 3 key parameters can help to reduce the urban effect: the color of materials, what we call albedo, water management, and vegetation, especially tree. Trees are particularly effective at reducing the heat island effect in a passive way by creating shade and preventing the accumulation of heat in hard surface, but also in an active way through evapotranspiration. Up to 95% of the water pumped in the soil by trees is released as water vapor in the atmosphere, generating a temperature decrease. This effect of natural air conditioning is now actively pursued as an objective in the design of the public realm. Several pilot projects are underway in the Greater Lyon, including the reconfiguration of Garibaldi Street, a large urban road dedicated to the car in the 70s, which is now being transformed into landscape boulevard. Stormwater runoff are managed in a sustainable way using trees and rain gardens. Former underpasses have been transformed into underground tanks for stormwater runoff attenuation and storage. This stored water is then recoverable for street cleaning as well as to irrigate plantation. Here, however, the type of soil and plants used in the landscaped area were chosen so that they do not require watering once established. The idea we wanted to test through the design used in this project is to use the rainwater collected and stored for irrigation only during heat wave period, which often correspond to a period of drought, so as to boost the evapotranspiration of trees and improve the thermal comfort of the district. A program of measure and modeling is being implemented through the involvement of several research laboratories and engineering consulting firms. Such pilot projects are led within the partnership framework established in our tree charter, helps develop and validate concept and approach, which are then integrated into the Greater Lyon Authority strategic document, particularly in the adaptation part of the local plan, but also in the objectives of the future land use plan. The new tree charter, which was co-written with a lot of local stakeholders and underwent extensive consultation during more than 2 years, has now been adopted by over 100 signatories, municipalities, professional federation, non-for-profit and community organization, private companies, training centers. It brings together the stakeholders around a shared philosophy, allows the exchange of experiences and sharing of knowledge, including the dissemination of the result of studies and researches. Its progressive dissemination still allows today to raise awareness amongst other harder to reach local stakeholders, construction company and public works contractors, the developers. And the target from today, but especially in the long term, is obviously the wider general public that must be made more aware and directly involved in the urban forest development. Because the question which underlies this whole approach and which ultimately concerns everybody is in what kind of city do we want to live tomorrow and how to reconcile nature and city. Thank you very much. I just want to say that we have an English translation of the tree charter, which is available at this address. But tomorrow you can also find the link to this charter on the TDAG website. Thank you very much.
Well, many thanks to Frederic for that, and I certainly learned a lot more about what the good work that you're doing in Lyon and elsewhere. Sadly, I know you probably got loads of questions for the speakers, but we kind of took an executive decision, Keith and I, that because of the really tight schedule that we wouldn't have time for questions to speakers, but I'm sure that if you contact each of the speakers individually, they're more than happy to respond to any questions.